Hello and welcome to Northern Light Surgical Weight Loss. My name is Valerie Curtis and I am one of several registered dietitians that you may encounter on your weight loss journey. Today I will be discussing all of the nutrition and behavior-related information that you'll need to know in order to be successful with weight loss and weight maintenance after having weight loss surgery. In Chapter 1, I will be focusing on obesity trends and psychological concerns that can happen after weight loss surgery. I'll start with obesity trends. So the definition of obesity is having a body mass index, or BMI, of 30 or greater. On this slide, you will see two maps. What these maps represent are the obesity rates in the adult population state by state. The first map you'll see represents the obesity rates nationwide from 1995. You'll see the western half of the country is mostly a lighter shade of blue, which represents obesity rates of 10 to 15% in those adult populations. More of the eastern side of the nation is a darker blue, which represents 15 to 20% obesity rates in those states. If we flash forward to 2018, the most updated info that we have on this topic, you can see that the color scheme is vastly different. The western part of the country is now in an orange color, which represents 25 to 29.9% of an obesity rate. There's a lot more red, 30 to 34.9%, which includes our state of Maine. And you'll see a new color, which is purple, especially in the deep south, representing 35% or greater obesity rates for those states. So this is a very significant increase in this time frame. And if the obesity rate continues to increase at the current rate, by the year 2030, we will be expected to have an obesity rate of 51% nationwide. To zero in on our state of Maine a little more specifically, in 1990, our obesity rate was 10.9%. And according to the most recent numbers, we have increased to 30.4%. You could say at this time that we are the heaviest state in New England. So why is this happening? Next, I'll talk about some factors that we believe contribute to the rising obesity rate. The first one is how we view portion sizes. You may or may not have heard the term portion distortion. What this refers to is how we view a normal portion size today is actually bigger than what was considered a normal portion size 20 or 30 years ago. So along with these bigger portion sizes, we're taking in more calories. You can see on the photo on the slide, the average cheeseburger 20 years ago was on average about 333 calories. Today's normal cheeseburger would be about 590 calories, so we're almost doubling the amount of calories from what's considered today's normal portion size. Our portions have increased so much that our dinnerware has been affected as well. In the 1950s, the average dinner plate sold was a diameter of 9 inches across, and today that has increased to 12 inches. We've needed bigger dinnerware to accommodate our larger portion sizes. So you could expect in a population, if we're taking in a greater amount of calories, that could cause a trend for weight gain in that population. Other factors that can contribute to obesity include poor eating habits. As a dietitian, the following eating habits are some of the more common reasons that we hear from our patients that can make eating healthy more challenging. Skipping meals is very common. Unfortunately, when we skip a meal, we tend to make up for it and then some by snacking or grazing later on in the day. There's a trend for more fast foods or convenience type foods. Many of us maybe only have 10 or 15 minutes for a lunch break, so we need something really fast or easy to grab. Maybe it's fast food, maybe it's a pre-assembled sandwich at a convenience store, whatever it may be. These types of foods are usually not as healthy for us. They may be higher calorie, they may be just lower quality foods in general, and if we don't assemble them ourselves, we're not fully aware how many calories they may contain, what kind of mayonnaise was used, what other type of condiments are used. You're not in full control of what you're putting into that food. A lack of fruits and vegetables. Fruits and veggies really should be the cornerstone of our diet. We should be filling up our plates with these fruits and veggies. When they tend to be lower in a person's diet, we tend to replace them with excess simple starches. Things like bread products, crackers, really refined carbohydrates that might get us a lot of calories, but not really a fullness factor. For the same portion size as the fruits and veggies, they might give us more calories, and they kind of almost have this addictive quality where we eat a little bit of them, and as soon as that's finished, we're looking for more. And end of day eating. A lot of people do really, really well in the beginning and middle parts of the day, but when we get home and start to unwind, that's where we can take in some excess calories. Maybe it's larger portions at supper time, or maybe it's a few snacks leading up until bedtime. Another factor contributing to obesity is lack of physical activity. Not making the time, sedentary jobs, and not making physical activity a priority are some of the very common barriers to physical activity that our patients tell us about. The Center for Disease Control, or CDC, recommends exercising for 150 minutes per week, which would be roughly 2.5 hours, and this would include some sort of moderately intense aerobic activity. For example, a brisk walk would qualify as moderately intense. In addition to this, 2 or more days of strength training per week is also recommended. So in comparison, our program goal is for you to start wherever you can. If it's 5 minutes per day at the beginning, that's okay. We just want you to start building the habit of doing some sort of physical activity every single day. And ideally, you should work your way up to 30 minutes per day. And to really make the point of how important a formal physical activity routine is, the National Weight Control Registry has found that 90% of people who successfully lose weight and keep it off long term exercise about 60 minutes per day. Other factors that can contribute to obesity include emotional eating. Emotional eating can be defined as eating for any reason other than true physical hunger. So sometimes people may turn to food in times of stress, when they're feeling very sad or angry about a situation, or even boredom. Just looking for a snack because there's nothing else to do at the moment is technically considered emotional eating. Self-medicating with food is very similar, using food as a band-aid or for protection. And then finally, fun and relaxation. Our culture in a lot of ways revolves around food. Any celebration, holiday, birthday party that you go to, usually the main event is some sort of food item. And that can be very difficult when you're trying to eat healthy and you're not fully in control of what food options are available in these situations. Some psychological and emotional concerns that can happen after weight loss surgery that are important to make note of include a loss of food as a coping strategy. If you identify as a person that does use food for other reasons than true physical hunger, this is something that you really need to prepare for before surgery. If not prepared, losing that coping strategy could lead to emotional flooding or increased feelings of depression or anxiety. So it will be very important to look for a non-food related coping mechanism leading into your surgery. Some people, even after significant weight loss, can still struggle with a negative self-image or negative body image. This is most often related to the possibility of excess skin after losing significant weight. And then perfectionism. It may sound nice to be perfect at everything all the time, but that is not the reality. In most cases, there are going to be some sorts of bumps along the road, and that's okay as long as you're able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. One mistake does not make a person a failure. The important thing to focus on is learning from the experience and maybe trying something different the next time the same situation arises. Some additional psychological and emotional concerns. Learning new social skills. I've found that this is something that surprises people after they have surgery. They may not be prepared for the attention that they get from people that they know once the weight loss becomes noticeable. Sometimes people make comments to them that they think are going to be compliments, but they don't come off that way and can lead to some awkward situations. So some people have had trouble adjusting to how to deal with the comments that they get from other people. Learning new stress management skills is also very important. A lot of times, other people in our lives are the main source of stress, and trying to find a non-food way to manage stress will become very important. Physical activity has been proven to help reduce stress. Maybe it's a hobby, something very relaxing like knitting or crocheting, or just sitting down to do a crossword puzzle to take your mind off the day's stress. These are all things that don't have to deal with food that could potentially help somebody to reduce stress. Learning assertiveness skills is very important as well. Sometimes we have people in our lives that we call saboteurs. Maybe you're working very hard on certain diet and behavior changes to get ready for surgery, and whether they mean to or not, some people in your lives make that extra hard. Maybe you've just cleaned the cupboards out, gotten rid of all of your unhealthy foods, and someone in your household walks through the door with a pizza or maybe your favorite bag of chips and restocks the supply. It's important to have conversations with other people in your lives so that they know what you're trying to do, and if there are certain behaviors of theirs that make that more challenging, can you come to a compromise to make that work out for both of you? It is also very important to put yourself first on your priority list. In this process, we're going to ask you to make a lot of behavior changes, and if you're always taking care of everybody else before you get to your own needs, that will be very challenging. It's okay to say no or delegate certain tasks to other people to give you more time to take care of what you need. Managing others' expectations of your success or failure. You may hear comments from people that you know that are hurtful about weight loss surgery. The important thing is to focus on what success means to you. For some people, success is not a number on the scale or a certain dress size. Maybe it's not having to take a handful of medications every day, or being able to get down on the floor and play with your grandkids and pop back up without being out of breath. It's something a lot more meaningful than a number or how you may look. So that's the important thing to remember. And if you hear things that are hurtful from other people, try not to let it bother you and remember why this is important to you. It's also important to be prepared for the possibility in changes in relationships. As I've mentioned before, there is a lot of change in this process, and sometimes this change can lead to friction in certain relationships, whether it's a friendship or a marriage.